Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another edition of the GhostComms podcast. But today we have something a little bit different. As you can see, it is just me, your host, Jatmon, and my co-host,
Catman?
Vishal. Catman, I
Catman.
don't know. I was trying to say co-host too
Catman?
early, but
Yeah, it's okay. It's
you
okay.
just have your host with you today. And what we're going to do is we're going to make Vishal the interviewee, the guest today.
Here
So it's
we
going to
are.
be, give you guys an opportunity to kind of get us um, under the magnifying glass a little bit, get to know us a little bit more. We're going to be starting with Vishal. So, yeah, man,
I'm
Vishal,
excited, bro. I'm
um,
excited.
I mean, give me the rundown, like childhood, extracurriculars, stuff like that. And then how did you end up finding or how did that lead into Fortnite later on?
See, it's so weird answering because we've listened to everybody else answer these, bro. But I think mine is a lot different, especially gaming wise, because you guys know, everybody that we've interviewed is kind of been like their dads, like the background of it, or like something to do in their family or something. Mine is really, really different. So I'll start off. I was actually growing up from like the second I started playing anything, whether that was sports or whatever. I was always into soccer. Like
Mm.
soccer was my passion from literally since I was like 4 years old. Like my parents would tell me stories constantly to this day about me as a kid on the soccer field, just running around, even if it like in an actual game, running around, not knowing what I'm doing, not knowing where I'm scoring, just running around in general. But they always said I always had like a soccer jersey on, like cleats on something while I was out.
Mm.
And I was always a soccer kid from the ages of 4 to like 10. And
Mm.
I didn't really, even as a kid, I'd say I never was on, like, I was one of those kids that never asked for like my parents' phone. I was not that kid that went in. If I was bored, I didn't need their phone. Like I would always have something to do with it. That's play games, go out with
Mm.
childhood friends and play whatever it was. It was never like anything to do with being on YouTube watching something or what like doing anything on my phone, playing games, whatever it was.
Mm.
So like I never asked my parents for all that stuff. And I mean I'm kind of grateful for it. I can't lie. Like I feel like I'm one of those kids where I didn't have to grow up on the beginnings of social media, if that makes sense. Like I
Mm.
didn't have to grow up on the platform of social media.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I think that made me a better person overall because I know my morals, like in
Yeah.
comparison to a lot of these kids on social media
Well, we
nowadays,
were
especially Twitter.
we were ready for it. You know what I mean? We were ready for the
Yeah,
age of social media
exactly.
because we had those really important years without it.
Mhm.
It was like
Oh yeah.
the early teenage years, like that middle school to like early high school. Like
Yeah.
we had those years where it was out of like if social media wasn't the dominant force in the world and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. Um, I mean, we've talked about it a lot with I think a lot of the different guests, and we see a divide
1000%.
in these like I mean, people even my age down to like people that are like 2 years younger than you, right? Like
Yeah.
five,
Yeah.
it's a 5-ish year difference. I mean, I have a brother who's 5.5 years younger than me, and we could not be more different in the way that like um, our childhoods and like how we were raised could be. Like we're
Yeah.
just completely opposite people. Um, and I think a lot of that is just due to like it's almost like a generational shift every few years with how fast technology moves and the technological revolution and just
100%.
like I mean like TikTok didn't exist for us
Yeah, no,
growing
TikTok
up and
was
like
late if we think about it, bro.
yeah
TikTok
I
was
mean
late.
I didn't even know TikTok was a thing until I became a content creator like
I didn't know TikTok was that heavy to like quarantine.
yeah
Hmm.
right so it's like yeah for me that's quarantine. I'm graduating high school. I'm already finished with my young life. I'm an adult and all that and like then TikTok comes on and I'm like oh like this is just a thing. I didn't get it for a long time either. I didn't even give a shit about it until I was like oh this is how creators are like blowing up
Yeah.
overnight like
Yep.
but yeah I mean there's a massive generational shift there. I mean for me I'm the same way like I grew up playing baseball in the cul-de-sac across the street, like and that just wasn't like riding my longboard or like going to the like
Yeah.
going to the park or whatever. Like it, I had a lot of more of those like normal
Never
childhood
relied.
experiences.
Never
Yeah,
relied on
like
technology.
dude, no, like I mean iPad kids, man, that just didn't exist. Like
Did not. No, they didn't. It was
in
it
my
was
age.
tablet kids, and it was not them being on YouTube or something. It was usually us playing games together.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
and even as young as my brothers, like I have a brother who's 3 years younger than me. He was the one grew up with Roblox and grew up with like
Hmm.
all of this stuff like where he was on an iPad all the time, and like he was like,
Yeah.
I think the difference between them and me is pretty distinct in just how our life experience has been because of that. But yeah, no, I agree that I think that like um your age and like over was a lot more prepared for technology and social
Yeah,
media
I'd
because we
say.
were social before. We were social, like we had the
Mm.
foundations of what it means to be like interacting with other human beings
I mean,
first, and then
we also gotta talk about the fact like what Instagram came out what
I
2013
was
or
gonna say
2012.
2012. Yeah,
2012, something like
I
that.
think.
Like I would by that time, like 7 years old at that point. Like if Instagram comes out like later into your childhood, because technically 7 years old is still a big gap from like the beginning age of zero. So we already again we grew up with the foundation of going outside, playing with
2010.
friends.
Instagram
2010,
was 2010, but yeah, I mean,
but it wasn't like it didn't have any of like the nicer features
yeah,
till later on. So like
yeah.
even if we had social media, like what would we do with it when it was in only its
Well,
base
and you
foundation?
think right, like so, like you have like Facebook, right? One of the first social medias, and then you
Yeah.
have Instagram come out. That's the new thing on the block. That's what all the
Hmm.
kids are on. Like if you're on Facebook, you're old. Instagram is in.
You're new. Yeah. Yeah.
Instagram is ancient now. Like
Oh yeah.
Instagram is just gone. You know, you have now it's Twitter, TikTok, like, you know, you have your different platforms. Instagram is only for like Instagram models or like, you know, OnlyFans or
Yeah.
like that. It's
Yeah.
like it
People focus on other things. Well, that's
yeah.
because like TikToks are made and people post TikToks on Instagram Reels. Like it's
Yeah,
just that
yeah.
conversion.
No, but like think about like how quickly that like that progression of social media. I mean, Instagram is not even 13 years old and it
Oh,
is
yeah,
already
exactly.
ancient. Like in social media terms, that is ancient. You know, you talk about like,
Yeah.
and I think we see this trickle down effect of that everywhere, like in our generation. I mean, you know, like even I was even thinking about this the other day, like with org stuff, right? Because you know, I see new signings all the time, and you
Yeah.
know, we talk about all these players. Like I think it was we were talking about Scented signing, and we were trying to figure out who Scented signed to.
Yeah, yeah, NXH.org, whatever it was.
Yeah. Well, he's off NXH, and he
He's
just
off
signed.
now.
He just
Yeah,
announced another
exactly.
one. But like, no, and that's what I was saying is like, dang, dude, like I have already outlasted some people that were like on PL, for example.
Yeah.
Like contracts are like months. You know, like some people
Oh
are
yeah.
only on an org for like 1 month, and like just that type of like short termness is really common in our generation. Everything is really short. Everything is like quick hitting. It there's not a lot of longevity. You know, if something is going on for years in our generation, that's like a lifetime to us. Like there's just no like
1000%.
yeah, like when
I
I say
agree
I've been in
more, to be
content
honest.
creation for like 3 years, people are like, "Damn, dude, like you've been in the scene forever," and I'm like, "Dude, like that is nothing. Like
That's
that's
nothing
that
compared to
is
like
one
the
seventh
bigger
of my
guys in the
life."
scene or
Like,
anybody
yeah,
that's
no,
actually knows
exactly, yeah.
more.
Then when you think
Yeah.
about like Cypher PK or Ninja
Yeah,
or
that's
Tim the
what I was
Tap
gonna
Man,
say. Like the first one was
they've
gonna
been
say
doing this for
Cypher.
literally a decade, like
Yeah.
like a half of their life, most of them. You
Like
know,
what?
like
Cypher's how old right now?
28. I think he
20.
just turned 28. I think
Dude, he started like he
he
literally has a
started
story where
it.
he moved out of his
Yeah,
parents' house because he needed to get this going, and it's literally
yeah.
it was 18. So yeah, it's been a decade
He's
for
had
him.
10 years to figure this shit out. Like, and
Hmm.
that
He knows
it's
so
just
much more, so
hmm
much more.
But like social media is just it moves and it progresses. Our whole generation moves and progresses so quickly. I mean,
Yeah,
we just have,
yeah,
you know, like everything is rushed, everything is short term. And a lot of it I think has to do with this idea of like instant gratification. Like we have this like
yeah,
we just
yeah.
want it now. We want it the way we want it. We're not going to wait. We're not going to, you know, we're just going to force it however we want it to be. We're going to get it now instead of waiting and making it good. And I've definitely had this in the people that I've worked with, especially in the Fortcom. They would rather get a shitty product out now than like wait and make it good and like actually, you know, especially
One
like
thousand
starting
percent.
things. Yeah. And like there's a fine line because there is like a, you know, you want to not wait until it's perfect and then you just put it off forever. I think a lot of people do
Yeah,
that, like with streaming, for example, where they're like, oh, I want to stream. And then they just like, they end up never doing it because they're like, oh, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. It's like, okay, yeah, just
exactly.
start. But like, I think on the flip side of that coin is like people just do shit and they expect it to be like the get rich quick scheme or whatever. Like, especially in the like
It's just not
Twitch.
happening. You got to be realistic with yourself. It's not
Yeah.
happening.
No, it's
If it
not.
happens, congrats. But like,
Yeah.
it's
But
not
social
like
media, like, I mean, you talk about, I do think that that's an interesting phenomenon of like the lifespan of everything in our generation is so short compared to our parents
Right.
and our grandparents and all
Yeah.
that. I mean, you talk about like
Exactly.
the trends, dude. You know, think about like how long Among Us was like popular, a couple months maybe.
Um,
That you
up
have
to max
you have
a
games
year.
that are like
Yeah.
literally like they last like
In
a
and out.
week. I mean,
In and out, bro.
yeah, you had
Fall
like
Guys. Fall
Fall
Guys.
Guys. Dude, you think
Massive.
of all of the Twitch trends, man. Only Up, that was about a week. Like,
Yeah. I
it's
think
like a
Only Up
week and a
Fortnite's
half.
blowing up more than Only Up right now.
Yeah, no, it is 100%. Only Up is dead. Like nobody's playing it. Nobody's doing it anymore
Yeah.
except for like Zexro doing his speed runs. But like, yeah, Only Up was like a week where it was like in the public eye. That was the
Yeah.
spotlight thing, and then it fades away. And like that's
Very much, dude.
and I think
It's so instant.
yeah, and when you become accustomed to that as a generation, like it's just a little bit it's different, right? Like we're so
Mm.
different from that because we know long term payoffs, we know longevity, and I think when that comes into things like management, for example, I think that's really valuable because people like you and I, when we're in management, we're managing these players and creators with that mentality of like instantaneous, short term, whatever.
Yeah.
We can kind of direct them into seeing the bigger picture. Um, but
Nah, but
anyway,
like,
I mean, getting into that, like we went off on a big tangent there, but that's fine. But like,
I mean, that's what
yeah, I
happens here.
mean, you grew up in that environment of like playing outside, doing sports, exploring, all of that
Which
stuff. So,
I'd say I still continue to this day. Like, so
mm,
after soccer, like to continue on, like after soccer,
mm-hmm,
which was like, I'd say halfway through fifth grade, I really realized that soccer is really not the game for me. It's not my
mm,
passion anymore.
yeah,
And I kind of realized that my parents kind of just put me in it and
yeah,
I grew to love it. But then at some point, I grew out of it because I was like, well, I don't enjoy it as much. Why am
yeah,
I going to continue?
yeah, yeah,
And even at a young age, I was also that dude that was like, at a young age, I think I was that guy that was like, or that kid, I guess you could say, was like, if I don't enjoy something, then I'm just gonna stop it. Like I'm not gonna
yeah,
even try to force continue it. So
mm,
after soccer, instantly found basketball, and I fell in
mm,
love so quickly. I just found the game way more fast paced.
yeah,
I mean, smaller field, of course, like to play on, so it's not as much.
yeah,
It was something I loved doing, like extracurricular wise,
yeah,
and I was known in like from I guess you could say neighborhood schools area, like our little district. I was known as a pretty
mm,
good player. I took it really serious from fifth grade all the way up till ninth.
mm,
Played on all year team except for ninth grade freshman. I missed the cut, and that cut my motivation for it. I love basketball more than I ever loved soccer, and I
mm.
loved watching NBA games. Like if you had asked me back in 2019 any stat about the NBA from salary caps to coaches from anything, I would know everything off the dome of my head.
Yeah, yeah,
And like I would be that guy that would try to figure out the best trades for teams or like how to make the NBA
mm,
proper, all this stuff. But yeah, so like basketball was always a passion for me from that point up forward. Until this day, I still love watching basketball. I still love like playing basketball with friends.
mm,
I kind of do wish as a kid I took it seriously. That's one of my I don't
mm,
really have regrets, but if it's anything to be my regret, probably not taking basketball seriously because I did get offers from like rep
mm,
teams and trying to play
mm.
more competitively. I just never took up on it because I was always like I don't know if I really wanted to, and if I didn't want to put myself through all that. But I
Yeah.
do sometimes be like, maybe it would have been worth a shot. Maybe it would
That's
have
funny
been.
that you bring that up because Netflix just released a docu series called Quarterback. It
I
follows
think I heard. I think
three
I saw you tweet it, and
follows
then I heard of it. Yeah.
yeah, it follows three different NFL quarterbacks throughout
Mm,
the 2022 season.
yeah.
Kind of goes into a deep dive on like their life and what it means to play the position, be in the NFL, and live that life while still trying to be a father and a husband and all of the the other stuff you have to balance in your life. And the same thought came to me watching one of the episodes this morning. Actually, was I there's a part of me that wishes I had like gone even deeper with football. Like
Mm,
I
yeah.
I played football from when I was 9 until I was 17. I loved it every minute of it growing up, and like I was in it 100%. Um, and I really did think to myself like, what if I had like actually gone full in, kept
Yeah.
training, really tried to get like that college
For
offer,
sure.
like where would I have been? But I
It
think for
always
me like
hits. It always hits.
yeah, no, it does for sure, and definitely like watching the show has reminded me of that time, giving me this nostalgic like revisit of something that was really important to me in my life. But I've also had a lot of draws from it and watching the show and going, but I'm where I am now, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else because of how things played out. And
Yep.
like I've the values and the skills that I learned playing quarterback and playing football have actually helped me more than maybe anything else in the esports
For sure.
scene. Like being in the sports industry and learning it and learning the positions and just, I mean, football, especially for me, taught me how to be a man, taught me values. It taught me manners. It taught me a lot of things. It taught me discipline, I think, primarily. It taught me how to
Yeah. Oh,
regulate myself
100%.
and I mean I think anyone who's played any sport can attest to that. Like seriously, like when you pour yourself into that, you have to be disciplined because someone with
Yeah.
more discipline than you will pass you. You know, hard work will beat talent every single time, and sports is one of the biggest um, places where that becomes obvious and seen. But yeah, dude, like I kind of did like go down this like what if, you know, type of thing of like, man, what if I had kept playing? What if I, you know, never got into esports or
Yeah.
content creation or whatever? But another thing I took from it too was like, one, watching coaches and general managers and all that. I was like, man, like there's a lot that orgs could learn from this. Like
Oh,
I'm a
100%.
firm believer
1,000.
in that the more the esports industry mirrors the sports industry, the more successful the esports industry will be. I
1,000%.
100% like I'm behind
Coaches
that
and
idea
gyms are
all the way.
probably the number one, number two, like pick up on that or
Yeah.
priority of that, if
Yeah.
that makes
No, I
sense.
mean watching the way coaches interact, because a coach in the NFL would be more like an owner in the esports scene, because
Oh
they
yeah,
we have coaches, but like it's not the same in
it's
the
not
same
the
way.
it's not the same atmosphere with that.
Yeah, coaches do a lot more of what an owner would do in an esports org. I mean, it's managing players, it's managing emotions, it's, you know, getting people
Exactly.
motivated and hyped and getting them out of their own head. I mean, in
Yeah.
a lot of ways, it's so much less about the game and it's more so about corralling people, leading people, getting them to accomplish a similar goal, you know,
Right.
and bringing the best out of people. And that, but yeah, like watching those interactions between the different quarterbacks and their different head coaches and all the people that they value in their different respective NFL organizations, like I was like, damn, dude, the esports scene could learn a lot from this. Like
A lot, dude.
and me being in management, I was like, I'm taking notes mentally the whole time. Like I'm like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
this
Exactly.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna use this. This is how I'm gonna like treat people. Like I've always loved that environment. I coached football, I coached basketball, like, and I love coaching and I coached esports and like there is this. It's so different. Like the kids, I think it goes back again to what we were talking about with like the difference between those generations, because like the kids who are playing sports that I'm coaching and the kids who are playing esports that I'm coaching are completely different. You know, like
Very different.
the
So
you know
different.
the kids who sit at home on their PC all day, it's hard to relate to them as much. They're not as disciplined. They're not as mature. They haven't like, you know, like sports
1,000%.
forces you to grow up. It forces you to like learn certain realities about life. And
Well, that's why it always brings out the fact of having an online set of friends that you all like. Let's say you're a
mm,
gamer. If you have an online set of friends that you love gaming with and all that, that's cool. But you should always have like some IRL friends or some real life friends to actually keep you in that mental that there's still something outside of what you're doing. There's still something
yeah,
you need to
yeah,
focus on. There's still something going on in your life outside of gaming because
yeah,
that's what I do. Like I have a lot of my IRL friends, and some of them are my gamer friends as well. But I have my online set of friends that I
mm,
play games with most of the time, compared to my
yeah,
IRL friends who I do hang out, go to school with, talk with about like relationships, friendships,
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
that is. And it's always just a comparison of figuring out like, yes, there's the difference, but like I know at the end of the day, they all care about me. We all care
yeah,
about each other. Like all this,
yeah.
we cherish each other, whatever it is.
No,
But yeah,
removal from it and removal, because there's. I was trying to explain this to someone the other day, but people in the online scene are
yeah,
very different from people who are not. Like people, and what I mean by that, it's not like anyone who's online is like this. I'm saying like people who build all of their life online and who are, you know, trying to do the content creation or the whatever. Like a lot of them are typically more socially awkward. They're typically more, and to compensate for that, they're typically more egotistical. They're typically more narcissistic. They typically are more selfish and snaky. And they kind of have this mentality of, oh, because I'm behind a screen, I'm not interacting with this person face to face, I can get away with more or I can do more. And they don't really associate it the same way as they would be treating like their school friends or their
right.
IRL friends or whatever. So you get this culture, and I really do say a culture because it's the dominant set of behaviors on Twitch and in Fortnite and whatever, like of just it's like snaky, backstabby, fake,
Yeah.
like You just get people who are trying to use you. I mean, I was texting someone the other day, and it's like, dude, like, I was like, here's how I know I've made it, because people are trying to use me now. Like, they see, like, you know, the PL in my name, dude. Ever since I joined and I got like I put the PL on my Twitter, dude. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, man, everyone wants to hit me up. Everyone knows my name. Like, everyone's like jokingly is like, hey, like, get me on PL, give me a contract. And it's like,
Yeah.
when you become accustomed to that, and like when that's the culture, it I mean, yeah, it's like removal from that and getting back to like normal people stuff is really important.
Give me 1 sec. We're gonna.
You're chilling. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was talking to this guy, and like realizing that people are trying to use me as a stepping stone, because they feel like I'm in a valuable position that they could use, um, is a bit bittersweet. I mean, I don't know. It takes some getting used to, but
Well, I
yeah,
don't.
dude.
I mean, dude, that's just kind of what this like scene is. Like you,
No, it
at
is.
some point,
Yeah.
you just gotta like accept it and deal with it. But at the
No,
same
for
time,
sure.
it's still so annoying.
No,
Like no
it's
matter what,
honestly, it was
it's so
more.
annoying.
It's more disappointing than anything, I guess. To me, is
Oh,
where
one
I get
thousand
to of
percent.
like, I don't know, man. Like, cause those people, when I see, oh yeah, like you're just using me as a stepping stone, or you're trying to, like, you've lost that opportunity. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
trying to reward and put in my circle of people who are morally sound, people who
Yeah,
are, who I believe in their mission and their vision and their values, where I want you to succeed. I put people in my corner that, if not me, them, right? Like, that's my
yeah,
mentality of like, if I'm not going to be the one that makes it and succeeds and whatever, I want anyone in my circle to be that person. If they could
oh
only
yeah.
take one,
I'm
like,
never like I'll never be if I don't. Let's say like this doesn't work out for me, which I'm 100% gonna try and make it work out for me. But if it doesn't,
mm-hmm,
like I want to see the ones beside me succeed no matter what because
mm-hmm,
they just have the same passions as me at the end of the day.
right, right,
You know what I mean?
yeah, um,
Like it's kind of just like as much as you can enjoy it, it's also like as much as you're gonna be sad about it, it's also that you came up with the friends that online friends are usually people that are in the same industry as you, someone that
mm-hmm,
aspires to be the same thing as you. So if they don't, you know, if you don't make it, but they do, if
yeah,
you're mad about that, it's cool to be mad because you're like, damn, I wish I was like what they were. But
yeah,
it's not cool to put their play down just because
yeah.
you couldn't make it.
Well, and that's, I've never understood that attitude of like, oh, like, I don't want people like stealing my clout around me. It's like, if you're putting people in your corner, if you're in your circle, that you wouldn't want to also succeed and have a share of whatever success that you're having, why are they your friends? If you don't believe in
Yeah,
them as much as you believe in yourself, I mean, like I'm like, yeah, all the people I'm willing to like put on my stream, for example, I 100%, like, if I make it, I want them to make it. Like, I'm
right.
aware that you can't really stop anyone from sharing your clout, when you're like at that level, you know, like, for example, anyone that clicks interacts with is going to get clout. It doesn't matter, that's just how it is. So if I'm clicks, I'm fully aware of that, and I am only allowing people to interact with me that I would want to also succeed. And like,
Well, yeah, we see that with Lacey. We see
yeah,
that specifically with Lacey. Like he has him at his house now. He
yeah,
has him in all types of content. Like
for
that's
sure,
just it benefits him in the sense that he, of course, gets more attention from it and all that. But it
yeah,
also benefits Lacey because they
yeah,
become friends. They get that connection. They get more
right,
connections with the lead on it. It's just
yeah.
a continuation.
But
It's a
it's
chain.
like, it's like trying to have your cake and eat it too. Of like, oh, I'm gonna have this person like around me or playing with me or friends with me or on my stream, but I also don't like, I
Exactly.
don't want them sharing my clout. It just doesn't. That's not how it
Yeah.
works. So it's like, if you are, honestly, if you have people in your circle that you're interacting with that you wouldn't want to be successful, why are you friends with them anyway? Because obviously you're saying
Right.
like something about them is not desirable or doesn't deserve, what the clout that you think they're getting a share of or whatever. And like,
Exactly.
if you think they're a bad person or they don't deserve the clout, then why are you interacting with them in the first place? Like, I've never understood
If
that
anything,
idea.
if someone's succeeding and you're not, and you know you're doing something wrong, they're doing something right, that should be like a motivational factor.
Yeah.
That should be a
Yeah.
motivational boost because you know if you want to outrun the person, even though they're your close friend, if you want to outrun the
Hmm.
person, that's a mental. That's not you being a bad friend.
Yeah.
That's just you wanting to do the best for yourself. seeing them
Yeah.
succeed makes you want to succeed. That's just a
Yeah.
motivational boost.
And that,
And I
I
would do
mean,
that with
I think
anybody.
sports taught us that a lot too.
Sports
I
did
mean,
teach us that. Exactly.
and kind of tying back to that, like, you talked about basketball, all the way up until like your freshman year.
Mhm.
What happened with that? Why did that end for you?
So, okay, as a kid that played basketball a lot, I always definitely like, especially after eighth grade, was my best year for basketball. I was averaging
Mm,
the most points of my, I'd say, quote unquote career. I was known in our school as the best, if not second best player. And what kind of brought it down for me is I had this massive, I guess you could say I had a massive ego going into ninth grade that I'd make the team and all this, and that I was a pretty
mm,
decent player. But of course, high school is a collection of all the schools, a lot of this different public schools in your district. There are a lot of good players,
yeah.
and I didn't even make it past the first cut. And for me,
Mm,
that was just like a killer to me. Like I thought there
mm,
would be a way for me to make it back on the team. Like maybe I could convince them, or maybe I could convince a coach, maybe I could show them that I'm more than what I am, just like looking at it one cut.
yeah.
But it just didn't work out. And after that, like even that's where the motivational factor came in, where when I saw my friends, some of my friends on the team, and they were playing games, like I'd go to the games and stuff. I don't think I missed like
Mm,
one regular season game that season, other than the away games. It was a motivational factor, but it was also like, was I really as good as I thought I was?
mm,
And
yeah.
just around that time when freshman season ended, quarantine hit, and quarantine
Oh,
killed a lot of sports passionists. Quarantine killed sports in
yeah.
general for a certain set of time. The bubble did come for the NBA, but it killed a lot of kids' motivation to continue playing sports because we were
Right.
stuck at home. Nobody was allowed outside. You can't. If you were to play basketball, usually it's alone in front of your house. It's not you going to a court. This happened and that happened,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think when quarantine came around was my switch from sports to esports. Of course, was
Yeah.
the switch from the IRL playing sports to now going and playing Fortnite, which I'm not gonna say I'm not grateful for it because listen, like Fort and gaming in general has brought me a lot, and we can go on for hours
Yeah.
and hours on how much it's brought me. But
Yeah.
basketball was always a passion. So
Yeah.
when me not making the team plus quarantine came along, it was kind of like a killing factor.
Mm,
So from that point, before we get into the gaming stuff, quarantine kind of again killed my passion for basketball, killed my passion for sports in general, and honestly killed my passion for going outside. And I love just gaming and all that, but from 11th grade, even in 11th grade when we were back in school, I didn't care to go play basketball outside. I didn't
mm,
care to do that. And honestly, it kind of it hit me physically because I mean, I started gaining weight. I started,
mm,
wanting to stay inside all the time, not really looking out for my body, all this. And as much as gaming has brought me a lot, it also has its downside effects for a lot of
yeah.
people, a lot of gamers in
Yeah.
general. And I went into 12th grade, same thing, kind of gaming thing. But I still at that point I was watching my body, I was working out and all this. Like I
Mm,
became a really big fanatic of working out. But gaming and all that, like I enjoyed it more than sports at the time.
mm,
And but honestly, like right now at the current moment, so I've just graduated my 12th grade year, so I'm out. I'm not a senior no more. I'm going into university
mm,
starting September, and right now this summer break that I'm in, I've actually been playing a lot of basketball recently,
mm,
and I've actually been getting back into like wanting to become better. Not because I want to play competitively. It's kind of because I just I still love the sport. I still love
yeah.
watching the sport. I still
Yeah.
love wanting to get better at it. And it
Yeah.
also is one more thing on my plate. You get what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
want my plate to be
it's a
empty.
physical outlet too, and that just like
Exactly.
having something like that. I mean, having a physical outlet that you love. I mean, it can make everything right with the world, even if everything is
Yeah.
like crumbling down around you. Like I know for me, man, like basketball was the same way. I used to we had a hoop in my driveway. Like we had it like one of those, like sandbag like at the
Yeah.
bottom.
Say
Like
that's mine. That's
yeah.
mine. Yeah.
And like, dude, I would literally every night for 2 or 3 hours. I mean, it would be pitch black. Some nights I literally went out there with a headlamp and I would just shoot for hours alone, like music in, and like
Mhm.
it just puts you at like it just lets you like release all of this. It's like inside of you. It lets you it like vents and processes like a lot that's going on with you, and like sports is a massive outlet because it's not just like normal working out. There's like something tied to it. Like there's some kind of magic that's like in that when you're
Yeah.
just, when you're shooting for hours, or when you're, doing anything for a sport. I think it's different than just, oh, I'm keeping myself in shape. It's like it has this emotional and mental aspect to it that just keeps you so like sharp, and like, oh, like I can conquer anything as long as I have this.
It's kind of like it's kind of okay. You could compare this in the sense of well, one thing. There's two things you compare in gaming and for sports,
Mm,
where how sports is an outlet for you and just wanting to release stuff. Same thing for gaming. A lot of people game to release
mm,
their like anger, release their frustration on something, or kind of
yeah.
get away from the real life perspective,
Mm,
right? Because it gets annoying at times, like whether that's family, friends, school, whatever it is,
yeah.
it can get really annoying, especially for my age. Like school is a very big like mental
Yeah.
stress.
Yeah.
So gaming or being online with friends is kind of
Yeah.
like that getaway. It's kind of like that mental push away.
Mm,
But the second comparison is that we use like I don't know how to phrase this. It's kind of like how when you're gaming with friends, you don't want to be the kid in your squad that's the worst at the team holding the team down. In sports, it's even if you're just playing with friends extracurricularly, you don't want to be the teammate that's holding everyone down. You want to
yeah.
be at least half decent. You want to be getting better.
Yeah.
You want to be the guy that everyone's saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, I want him on my team. I want him
Yeah.
to be on my team. I
It
get first pick because I want him."
I think improvement is a natural human instinct. I think like
Yeah.
when we do something, to stay static at it, to stay static at something that we are passionate about, it doesn't.
It
I
doesn't
don't.
click. It doesn't hit.
Yeah. It's not how we are. It's not how we're wired.
Yeah.
Like we want to be pursuing the best of what it is, and that can be anything. I mean, hobbies are a massive thing, and they're preached all the time. A hobby is literally just something that you are passionate about, that you do all the time, and by nature of that, you're just going to want to get better, and you're going to get better by putting that much time into something. That's just how we
Agree.
are as human beings. Something you said earlier kind of stuck out to me. I didn't even think about um, how COVID affected sports, and I mean, we've talked a lot about how COVID brought on esports, but I didn't even really think about, because I like, for me, I started esports. I started playing Fortnite competitively when I had a knee injury my junior year of high school
Mhm.
that didn't allow me to play sports anymore. So, and that was my senior year, was when COVID hit. So I was kind of right during that time. I had just quit sports anyway. I had already moved on from sports when COVID hit. So I was already kind of in this esports mode. So I just leaned into esports even more. Like,
Yeah.
to have sports kind of stripped from you where you're still perfectly healthy, you haven't had to like grieve the loss of sports yet,
Yeah.
and for COVID to like hit, and then it's like, oh yeah, this thing that I love, that I'm accustomed to, like pouring myself into every day, is being taken away from me. Like, I can imagine how much that, like,
It was
competitive drive and all of that, you're like, oh, I need some kind of replacement. And that's probably why that grasp at esports was so strong for so many people in
right.
your
It
age. I
was.
mean, you were a freshman in high school. Like, those 3 years were
Dude,
supposed to be like,
even even to this day, I'm like, did I ever actually complete high school? I
mm,
missed two crucial years. I
yeah,
missed whole of 10th grade in my IRL
hmm,
person. I was practically online the whole time. I went in person for maybe a month or two,
yeah,
and then it got cut off completely. Ninth grade, halfway through my second, not even halfway through, like a
yeah,
month into my second semester, it got cut off. And
yeah,
I wasn't even at school the week before COVID can't like shut everything down because I
mm,
had some family stuff going on and literally did not even go to school that last week. Didn't really get a chance to say
mm,
quote unquote goodbye to my friends that
mm,
I would
yeah,
nowadays I'm not even like friends with.
yeah,
Like it's my ninth grade year got cut off short, which is supposed to be the year where you're having like you introduced to high school, you're trying to
yeah,
have the most
yeah,
fun.
yeah,
10th grade year is kind of like right before everything starts getting really serious. That's where you like trying to figure out your passion. Never found out my passion in 10th grade.
yeah,
11th grade going into it, it was like everybody shut down. They're anti-social as hell. Nobody wants to
yeah,
talk. Nobody's friends with
yeah,
nobody from freshman year. And 11th grade, that hit me the most because to this day, like everybody at my school and even people I'm very close with now that I or maybe even got close with like this year from my school that have been there since the beginning, they even tell me like they knew of me. They've known who I am because I was the most social person in our grade. Like
mm,
genuinely, if you went to a friend group and asked who's a part of this friend group, I was probably somewhere in there.
yeah, yeah,
And it's not an ego thing. It's kind of like literally because I loved being social. I loved going out. Like even there was time
Yeah.
nowadays my mom like tells me why do you stay inside so much? Before it was why aren't you at home ever? Like I used to
Yeah.
go out so much, right?
Yeah.
So like I either it's a school basketball game, it's hanging out with friends, it's
Yeah.
going to the mall, going to Wonderland, something like that. It was always
Yeah.
I'm out of the house. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
even though I didn't have a car, even though I didn't have something, I would always want to be out of the house.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you think like how different. I mean, like it is weird, and I don't think a lot of people have truly come to terms with like the idea of how monumental the changes and how COVID affected the world. I mean, like
that was like,
it will be in history books. It will be taught,
oh,
for
I wouldn't be surprised if it's taught within the
for the
next
rest of like
4 or
human
5 years.
history. I mean,
Yeah.
because it was such I mean it turned the world upside down, inside out, every single which way it could go wrong it did. And like, I mean, yeah, really thinking about, you as a freshman didn't get those fundamental years of high school to have those experiences, to be on sports teams, to like be in school developing those experiences. I mean, for me, I was almost done with high school. It hit my March of my senior year. It was only my last few months. So and as much as I think that derailed me for college, like my first year of college, from when COVID hit to the end of my first year of college, I like was one of the darkest times of my life. I was staying inside all day. I talked to no one because I wasn't really involved in like the comm or anything yet. So like I just had nothing going on, no one, like none of my, like I had literally the week before COVID, I dropped all of my senior friends because they were incredibly like toxic, unhealthy people, and they just like they were getting much more out of me than I was of them. Like it just wasn't beneficial at all. So like, that affected me a lot. But like thinking about if I had missed my freshman and sophomore and junior years of high school, and like how that would have changed me as a person.
Massively in a social
No,
aspect.
yeah, I think a lot of like there's no way I'd be doing what I was doing right now if it weren't for COVID. Like,
I mean, it's kind of like that thing where people believe where if something had gone different in any situation time
yeah,
wise, it would
yeah,
change it. It would alter reality.
for sure. Oh,
We can't show it's proven, but
yeah. Oh, the
it,
butterfly effect for sure. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, with COVID, obviously,
yeah,
there would be an entire world of difference. I mean, and there's no way to
100%.
ever know what that looks like. But I mean, to think about even the possibilities, right? I mean, I know for me, some very, very crucial things that I value deeply and like formed a part of who I am would not have happened if it weren't for COVID. And like,
Could have been a whole different person.
I guarantee you I wouldn't be doing this today. I mean, I just never would have
Yeah.
found it. I never would have thought of it. Like,
Well, the same thing could be said about your injury.
yeah. Oh, for
Like
sure.
if your injury didn't
Yeah.
happen, would you still be playing sports? Would you have
Mm.
actually somehow gone into esports? Would you have gone a different route with sports management, which is what your
Yeah,
what's
I
it?
was I had dreams of being a sportscaster. I like
Is
I
that
wanted to do
well?
sports
Because
like
what was it?
radio.
Your minors in sports management
I was
or
going to do, I was
sports
going to
some
do a degree in esports management. Yeah,
yeah
I was I'm looking for programs. I'm maybe next year going for a certificate in it, which is yeah. I mean, but I have media management. That's my minor
yeah
now.
media man. That's what it
Yeah,
was. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, which was directly a cause of me being in esports in PL. Like I was like, oh, like I want to actually build a resume for this industry. So yeah, I mean, like I don't think I'd have made a lot of the choices that I had made if it weren't for that. I mean,
Mhm.
but yeah, I just thinking about how different that could have been and how different life was, and I didn't even think. Yeah, you're 3 years younger than me. Like you were a freshman when COVID hit, like that.
Like I was at that time of high school where
Yeah,
everything kind of got
everything
destroyed.
was.
Like
Well, I mean, high school was about to start for you, really. I mean,
yeah.
like your freshman year, you're getting accustomed. Like you're just kind of like being thrust into this world, and you're like,
Well,
oh,
it's
like
also now that I can't. If someone asked me what was your high school experience like,
you're like I don't really know.
I
Yeah,
kind of have the
yeah,
beginning of my freshman year and
yeah.
my 12th grade year,
Do
which
you
12th
have
grade year was great, but
do you have like that kind of like thing where like you don't feel like you've aged, like since COVID? Like there are times, man, where I'm like, I feel like those years were a blur. Like it was like
like
they
they were
were
just
all
like
it was like just
it was
one
kind of
long
voided, like they were
day.
voided.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I mean, I'm literally like there are times where I still feel 17, like because
you know,
COVID hit, and I like COVID hit right after my 18th birthday. So there are times where I still feel 17 because it's just like I don't feel like time was real in that time. Like,
I understand what you get, and I can say that yes in certain aspects, but I think because you're the oldest sibling in your family, correct?
yeah,
My thing is I'm the youngest. I had two
mm,
older sisters, so a lot of my realities and a lot of what like I follow in life has also been like of what I've seen them experience, what I've
mm,
heard from them. Like that's why I'm a very realistic person when it comes to giving advice to people. That's why I'm a very realistic
mm.
person in any aspect because a lot of my like intellectualism, I guess you could say, comes off
Yeah.
my very too smart and older, capable older sisters.
That explains a lot as to why you're more mature and, well, I mean, just beyond your years. I mean, that was when
Yeah.
we first met. Like that was something. I mean, it immediately stuck out to me because I've been wanting to do this concept of the podcast for years. I mean, even
Mhm.
while Arab was doing brand risk, I was like, oh, I either want to work with him or do the like a similar concept of a
Exactly.
podcast. Like, and um, but my obstacle, the thing that had stopped me from starting it was like I don't want to really do it solo. I just feel like I
Yeah.
need like the yin to my yang, and I need like that
Exactly.
counterpart. And
Yeah.
I mean, we met through Void, I think.
Void.
Yeah.
Shouts out Void, bro. I haven't talked to him in a
I
minute,
miss
but
Void, bro. Yeah,
I miss him too,
he
bro.
took a dip from the scene. I think he's doing like bodybuilding now
Reselling,
or whatever.
reselling bodybuilding. I know he's making a bag for sure. I do gotta
Yeah,
catch up
that
with him
doesn't
again.
surprise me. But
It's crazy because no one's gonna know who Void is because he never had like a social media presence other than small
yeah,
on
I mean, he
Twitter
was good as
before.
fuck. I mean, he was
He
actually
was
really
crazy,
talented at the game, but like,
smart as well,
yeah,
smart in the game.
especially with the like the very few hours he had to practice like per day and
Yeah,
per
because
week.
his
But yeah,
parents are. That's the one thing. Like parents are very limiting in this scene in comparison
yeah.
to like a sports scene.
But no, like what I was getting at is I remember our first conversation. I think it was you, me, and Void playing Trio Arena, and like we
Yeah,
were talking about it, and like you're just kind of like shooting the shit and talking about whatever. And I think Arab's podcast came up, and I was like, yeah,
podcast
dude.
came
I was
out.
like,
That
or
was one of the very
maybe
first
someone in one of
conversations.
our chats. I think I remember someone in one of our chats was like, you guys like sound like you're on a podcast right now, and I was like, actually, I've been wanting to start a podcast for some time, and like
It was
it
probably
sparked.
your chat 'cause I can't
It
remember
probably
me and mine
was,
saying
yeah. But
that.
like,
Yeah,
um, but I like it really did get me thinking of like, oh, this is the person who is similar enough that I feel like they contribute to the
yeah,
conversation. They're valuable, like but also you have different enough experiences and viewpoints where it's not just going to be two carbon copies of the same person. Like
yeah. Like
we have different views. Like I mean, I remember our first episode with Bronos, like watching it back and listening to it back. The times, and honestly, our all of our first episodes and all of our episodes that we've done,
yeah,
the times you choose to chime in, the time, like what you choose to say, where you choose to go, I'm always like, I'll be honest, most of the time you talk, I'm like, what is he doing? Like, I don't want to go there. And then it ends up leading to this like really good, and you just like I'm like, I never would have gone there. That's not my instinct. And yet we got this really valuable or like good piece of information or whatever. And like, and
$1,000%.
I learned really quickly not to doubt you because like I was always like, dude, that's not what I like. That's not where I want to go. This is a weird question or whatever. And
Yeah,
then it just like after that first episode or two, I was hushed up. I was like, man, like wherever Vishal wants to go, like whenever he feels it necessary to chime in, I'm gonna let him take the reins and do that.
and
And like
it
I don't know,
always links back to something. Like it
it
always
does.
links
No,
back. It always
you
goes
see it differently than I do. Like
one thousand
you
percent.
you get to the like
Well,
and
that comes down to the fact that you are a very philosophical guy. I'm kind of more of a person based a lot on logistics, if you want to put it that
mm,
way,
yeah,
right?
for
Like
sure.
I said, like I'm a very realism person. Like
Yeah,
I'm a realistic person. So when I ask very straight up questions, it's because I want a very straight up answer.
yeah, yeah,
It's not because I don't believe in philosophies or stuff like this. It's because I just have that different viewpoint from you,
yeah,
which
yeah.
clashes at the same time, but also creates a very interesting conversation.
Yeah,
And that's what
no,
the
it does.
podcast really is.
No, and I think part of me knew that deep down. I knew that you were different enough from me that it wouldn't just be two of the same person talking, but we're similar enough to where it works, and our dynamic is really good. And
It's hard to explain why our similarities and differences align so much
yeah,
because you can't say we're so different but we're so similar. It's
we
so
are.
hard to
We're
explain it.
we're like I think people who don't know us really well would say we're basically the same person, and people who know us really well would say
We're
they're
very
complete
different.
opposite. Yeah, like
Yeah, exactly.
it's a very. I mean, we have very basic similarities, but we have a lot of key
1000%.
differences, and that I mean it works for everything. But I mean, yeah, dude, like meeting you and like seeing that um seeing that maturity and kind of just being beyond your years, and like you said, like with your sisters, that was probably where a lot of that came from, like watching
One
these people
thousand
grow up
percent.
before, like like and I've given you props for this before, but the way you ran Vice was like unbelievably impressive for someone your age, especially. I mean,
Yeah.
you had command and control of those guys, and more importantly, their respect and loyalty. I mean, you were the glue of that entire organization. You were holding
Right.
that whole Fortnite section up together, and I knew pretty early on that you were um a special kid. Like I knew that um you had the qualities to be massively successful in this scene. And that hasn't changed. That's only grown in the time that I've known
Yeah.
you. But um
Well, I
I
think with Vice, it was kind of like this section where it kind of I when I first joined Vice, it was kind of like I saw, well, Reflections Berto kind of running it, and I was
mm,
always like, what would it be like to put myself in that position? Even though Berto's a year older than me, it's kind of still like we're in that same age gap, and I kind of
yeah.
wanted to see like what could I do, even if it was putting in my own money or running it
Mm,
with someone else's money. How much could I improve?
hmm.
Not saying they were a bad team to start, but saying
Yeah.
that
Well, there's
how
always
much
room
could
for
I
improvement. That's
same
yeah.
yeah, exactly. The same way we were saying like improvement is just a human nature. It's kind of like
Hmm.
that. It's what can I do to improve it, make it
Yeah.
better than
Yeah.
how it already is. And I kind of just put my like instantly, it wasn't I had to think about running it. It was kind of like Berto gave me the opportunity and instantly I was like, I want to take on it. I
Yeah.
want to take up the
Yeah.
opportunity. And July of that summer, so last summer, July, technically it would have been my 1 year if I hadn't dropped the team like a week prior. It would have been my flat 1 year.
Mm,
But taking the opportunity in July was kind of like when I saw all those people like it and when I saw all those people like say congrats and people texting me saying like you can make it big, that was a driver and a
mm,
motivator fact for me. And
yeah.
being able to have the opportunity to record videos, schedule recordings, get my guys whatever they needed to like help them succeed or help them build their brand, it was always just like as much as I was putting my money and maybe not making an quote unquote ROI on it or return
Yeah.
on investment,
Yeah.
it was seeing people succeed and
Yeah.
seeing myself gain
Mm,
skills and abilities that I didn't have before
yeah.
was kind of the ROI on it. Was really the ROI on it.
When is there a specific moment that sticks out to you when you kind of went, yeah, I enjoy this more than like competing, for example?
For me, it was I never even from the beginning when I first got my computer, which was November of 21 of
Mm,
2021, I never was like I want to become a competitive player. But
mm,
there were definitely points where like even if I did really good in like or did decent in like a very like low end tournament in Fortnite,
mm,
it was still like, oh, like I can become good. Like if I really
mm,
wanted to try and become good, I think I really could become good.
mm,
But it was never a motivating factor for me to become very talented at the game, put the hours in like that.
mm,
But if we're talking about a moment that sticks out that said management over competitive, I definitely say it's actually kind of controversial. I'd say it's seeing my guys
yeah.
make a high end qualification on something, or seeing my
Yeah.
guys make a round two, round three FNCS,
Yeah.
and then being like, or a top 10 in round one, and then being like, wow, those guys can do it. And they come to me and say, thank me for being able to represent the team or being able
Yeah.
to like lend them stuff that could help them improve what they do. Like
Yeah.
whether that was one guy I had on the team, he wanted a coach really badly. And he was so determined to be able to get better at this game. He just thinks he
Mm,
needed someone in his ear to tell him what he was doing wrong because he could never
mm,
take the criticism. And I was like, I believe in you the most. I will pay for 2 months of coaching for you. Then
mm,
you figure it out on your own. If you make money
mm,
on your own competitively, you pay him. But if
mm,
you need help with anything, let me know. I
mm,
got him a coach for 2 months. through 2 weeks after that, he got top 12 in FNCS round one. And I
Jeez.
was like, clearly he's making some type of improvement.
Yeah, yeah,
Clearly my investment, even though I'm not making money back on it, it's an
yeah,
ROI seeing my players do better, which
yeah,
will be an ROI in the future,
yeah,
which is a
yeah.
chain link. So I'd say that was one of them where managing my players that I knew could become very good at the game and
Mm,
would obviously put the hours in because they were on a competitive roster
mm,
showed that I don't have to play competitive to be satisfied.
mm-hmm,
I just have to manage people. I like managing people that
mm-hmm.
are in the competitive scene and seeing them succeed,
Yeah.
which makes me satisfied.
It was the same with coaching because I started
Yeah.
competitively and then like I don't know, I just noticed like every time I would compete, it would just be stress and anxiety and not really a lot of payoff. Like I would always be disappointed in my performance or whatever. Like it was never good enough and I just never felt like the love of it. Like
Right.
it was sports, I felt that same drive. I always felt that drive to get better. But with sports,
Yeah.
I had some level of satisfaction. I could see the improvements where I was getting those wins and like I was just like, okay, like here we go. Like sports was a lot more fulfilling and enjoyable to me despite the hardship and the rough stuff. Esports never really hit the same as sports did for me.
Right.
And maybe part of it was that physical aspect. I mean, especially like playing football, man, if I had bruises, if I was swollen up, like if I had been getting hit for hours, I felt like good. Like I felt like there was so much that was like released from me in those like, dude, just like even getting hit, man, just there's something about it that just gets you going. Like I
It's a
fucking love
motivational boost. It's
no
like
it,
that boost where it's like, I'm
it,
gonna
it
go back and I'm gonna get him back for
there's
this.
definitely something that has to do with like testosterone for sure. Cause like that physical
1000.
feeling of just like, oh
You're good.
yeah,
No, I'm kidding.
fuck, I just got hit, bro. Like, yeah, like it just I don't know, it gets you in this like right headspace, man. Like I loved it, man.
If someone clipped that out of context, that'd be the funniest clip to go.
But like esports never hit the same. So but like people told me like they're like you understand the game a lot more than I do. Like, can you like help me out? And I'm like, sure. Like, and I started coaching pretty early on. Like I would say like World Cup even I was like already kind of like more coaching than I was playing and like
Playing
um
exactly.
it was it
Well,
was
that
it was that moment of like seeing one of my guys place really highly, seeing one of my guys succeed and going, wow, it's different. It's a different sense of achievement, but it's still fulfilling. It's not one to one. It's not like the same as like you succeeding.
yeah.
It's a different type of feeling, but it's just as satisfying, if not more. Like and then for me, like with management, dude, I remember
Yeah.
it was DreamHack Dallas, man, and we were sitting there doing the watch party, and the leaderboard just came out for the last game, and Pars and Vert
Mhm.
qualled for Saudi,
Saudi.
and just like it was me, Sad, and Jank just sitting there, and like this, I mean, this wave of
Yeah.
like achievement and all of this stuff, like pride and all of that just
Yeah.
came like flooding through, and I was like, wow, I mean, I had felt it before because I'd coached and like that. It was
Yeah.
the same feeling of like leading someone, enabling them to bring out their highest potential and to achieve and to grow is,
Yep.
like I said, it's not the same as doing it yourself. It's a different sense of achievement, but it's equally as fulfilling, if not more. And
But that's remember that at the end of the day, that's our personal preference. That's how we saw it.
yeah, for
Other
sure.
people, it was different. It was like if they coach, maybe sometimes they're like, but I kind of want to do it on my own. Like if I
Yeah.
have all this, I want to do it on my own.
Yeah.
And we could think of that mental, but it just doesn't hit the same for us as it does for younger kids or competitive kids. Like that's just the two
Yeah.
different mindsets
Yeah.
that people have.
No, yeah, they're different types of achievement. It's a different feeling. It's
Yep.
they're similar, but they're not the same, and I'm fully aware of that. I mean, it's like there are times, like I said, where I miss being the one who was throwing the winning touchdown, or actually on the field or whatever. But it's a different sense of achievement, and I understand why there is that like pipeline in most sports where if you were a great player
Yeah.
and you were really smart and cerebral and a student of whatever game you played, I can understand that player to coach pipeline because you become it changes, the goal changes.
Yeah.
You're like, I had enough personal achievement, now I want to enable people to have that same feeling, and that's what it is. It's handing someone that opportunity to have the same success that you did, and like
I
that.
remember I think one of the best comparisons I think I've ever made. And I've actually said this on stream somewhat recently, I think maybe 1 to 2 weeks ago, if I remember. someone was asking me in my chat about like what sports did I play before
Mm.
thing, and one of the comparisons I made between gaming and sports is in Fort, when you get that solo clutch, it is just you get just as exhilarated as hitting that game winner in a game, like in an
Mm.
actual basketball game. I remember as a kid, like very vivid grade 8 memory where it was like 50-50 tie game against like the third best team in the district other than
Mm.
our school was like the second best. And I'm at the free throw line with like 0.8 tenths of a second left. And I hit a
Mm.
free throw, we're up one, and then we win the game. And that moment was so exhilarating
Yeah.
because I had like my teammates just like screaming, they were in joy. Like we just
Yeah.
were like perfect in the regular season. We haven't lost a game now. We kept the winning streak alive.
Yeah.
And then hitting a like clutch shot in a game or hitting that solo clutch that you never thought you'd hit and your body's pumping of just adrenaline and like just your
Yeah.
heart's beating, screaming after you hit that shot and you see the number one victory royale, you just lose it. Like you
Yeah.
scream, you
Yeah.
lose it. It's just adrenaline pumped out and it's
Yeah.
such a nice
It's
comparison to
it's
think about.
it's euphoric. I mean, it's like you
Yeah.
are on a high that is. I mean, really, unless you've experienced it, it's kind of undescribed. Like there aren't words that can accurately depict what that feeling is like. I mean, I I remember winning my first football
Yeah.
championship, and like when that whistle blew, I mean, it was like time slowed down. I mean, it's just like this.
Yeah.
It's a hard moment to describe, but it's literally just like this like moment where you're like it's like frozen in time, and you're just like this. It's like your whole body is like perfect. It's like you're floating. I mean, it's like it is. It's an indescribable feeling. Like
But that
competitive achievement is just
yeah.
yeah.
That's why that COVID hit with
Mm,
sports hit a lot because
mm,
all those euphoric moments, all those like
yeah, yeah,
instilling moments were kind of being pulled away from us. And I
yeah.
think a documentary that points that out really well is Last Chance U, if you've ever seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Last
Yeah.
Chance U,
I've
if
watched all of them. I've watched every
yeah,
season. Yeah.
if you saw the NCAA one with that one team, I forgot what team it was, but pretty much
The
if you guys have never watched,
the basketball
yeah.
seasons. Yeah.
So
What West LA, East LA?
East LA, something like that, yeah, one or
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
And the guys, when they heard about the COVID strike,
Yeah.
you saw all of them going to a mental
Well,
breakdown.
and their
And that's
season
real
they were
time.
about
That's
to they were
not
yeah
fake.
they were about to go to
That's real.
playoffs, and like
Yeah.
they were having a really good regular season. They were looking to make
Mhm.
a good playoff run, and for those guys, I mean, it was if they had a good season, a lot of them were going to get picked up by D1 schools. They were on their fast
Well,
track to
there was that one
D1.
guy, that Cam guy. It's like a very like viral TikTok of him, like how he gets pissed off at him playing bad, like he's breaking chairs in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
locker room and all this stuff. He was like broken after it.
Yeah.
Like he had,
Yeah.
I don't know if he plays competitive ball now still, but
Yeah.
he like felt so broken. And in the documentary, they're all moving out, right? They're all moving out and stuff. And you can see him literally like crying. You can see him like
Yeah.
breaking down from the fact
Yeah.
that his season just ended
Yeah.
and he was coming back off of like an injury or he's coming back
Yeah.
from somewhere where he
I
hadn't
mean,
got to play for
they
a
all
while.
got completely robbed. I mean, it was just,
Yeah.
one day everything's there. They have a regular season game planned, and then all of a sudden, one game
Gone.
gets canceled, two games get canceled, and it was the snowball. Like, yeah, no, everyone's like gone. Like the
And
season's
just
over. And
that factor, it was like COVID,
mm,
the way people like the way COVID was and the way people our media portrayed COVID was that it wasn't going to come back to normal for a while.
yeah, yeah. No, I
And
mean,
still to this day, there's parts of the world that are not back to the
it's
normal as they used
the
to
world
be.
will never be the same. I mean, that's
It won't.
that's just the fact of it. Is like the pre-COVID and post-COVID world are different. Even though you could take video from today, let's say LA, you could take LA from pre-COVID. They may look the same. It may look like the same people walking down the same streets in the same amount of traffic, but it's forever changed. There is a scar on the world of what
Mm,
COVID left, and
yeah.
that time, and what it changed, and I mean, really, we don't even really know the true psychological effects that it
No,
had on the world, because we're only a few years out. I mean, COVID isn't even really gone yet.
it's
We just
not. There's
it
still so many, but like it's just in North America, like where we are right
yeah,
now, it's died down as much,
yeah,
but it hasn't in other countries. It hasn't in other
yeah.
continents.
Well, and even in North America, we have variants coming out, and we we
Yeah.
have people still getting infected. Not as many people dying or whatever. Like it's not the world news that it was, but I mean, it's still there. It's still lurking in
You
it.
Do you remember that one channel where it was just the COVID deaths and it showed the COVID statistics the one TV channel. I don't. I
I
don't.
think I
My
know what you're talking about.
When COVID first hit, that's all that was on my TV all day,
Mm,
every day.
mm,
And seeing that number go above 7 digits was some of the
yeah,
scariest things I've ever seen in
yeah.
my entire life.
That's what I was gonna look up. Hold on.
I don't know what it was called, but because I have like the IPTV thing where you can like choose a channel, whatever, like
Yeah,
it's all
yeah,
open channels. But when you saw that like board, when it hit that 7 digit mark, or you saw your country
yeah,
higher on the board, you were like, wait, this is actually like this is dead serious. Like we're not. It's not a joke.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not like it's not like
yeah. No, I mean it was the that like I think wave of emotions when oh yeah we're gonna go home for 2 weeks. It was some outbreak because like for
we're gonna be
example
back.
I had stayed home from school before for pertussis. That's what it was. Whooping cough. That's what it's called.
Oh yeah, yeah,
We had a whooping cough outbreak at one of my schools. So we stayed home for like a week. But then we were
yeah.
back. Everything was back to normal. Some people wore masks. So it was like, oh, yeah, like it's going to be another one of those. And then, I mean, I remember that 2 weeks turning into a month, turning into, and it was
Two
just like this.
months, 4 months.
And then that's kind of when the national media really started like picking up and like,
Like
they're like, this is the most dangerous thing that we've ever seen. Like, but I mean, I don't think that we'll ever really have the proper documentation and history of the effect that it had on the world, every individual, every country. I mean, there's not enough to describe it all. And to think like it's just a blip in human history, and yet it's going to be this impactful and changing how we move and interact with each other going forward is a crazy thing. But I kind of want to get back to, so, COVID hit and sports was gone. Fortnite was trying to fill that void for you, and
Fortnite was
you
filling the void for me.
you got to management, you got to Vice. Um, what what did you like? What are your biggest takeaways from Vice? What was it like running that? I mean, really independently, right? Because you were under the Vice name, but you kind of were running the Vice Fortnite as if it were his own org. I mean, you were essentially an org
Yeah.
owner, and
So
what did you learn? What philosophies and ideas, and what are the main takeaways? Like, what about management? If you were to sum it up, what did you learn there?
I learned okay, specifically if we're talking in this Fortnite scene, it just as a takeaway
Mm.
in the Fortnite scene, you're never gonna get a mature kid. You're never gonna get that mature
Damn
kid.
straight.
If you
Yeah.
do, you gotta praise.
Hmm.
You gotta be praised. Like you have to
Yeah.
praise it. But
Yeah.
what I realized was that with management, I had to adapt more to those guys, those kids, rather than them having to listen under me. I kind of had to figure out my
Mm.
scheduling, figuring out how I wanted them to listen, figuring out how
Mm.
I wanted them to do whatever based on how they were, not based on what I wanted. Because their age difference and
Yeah.
where again that COVID strike hitting
Yeah.
them where they didn't get that social impact on them or that
Yeah.
maturity on them really made that dent in the factor that I had to figure out what they enjoyed, how they people
Yeah.
were speak to, how they
Yeah.
listen, rather than what I wanted them to listen to, what I wanted them to adapt to. It was kind of because the gaming scene again is very different from the real life scene. I'm not a
Yeah.
teacher at the end of the day. I'm a dude that's a few years older, helping these guys being managed, helping these guys getting paid to pay for things to make them better, blah blah blah, etc. etc. But
Yeah.
what I learned was you have to adapt more to your players
Mm.
than you want them to adapt to you,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, they're your clients, if you want to put it that way. They're
Mm.
your clients. You're satisfying them, not them satisfying you.
You have to find that perfect balance because
Right.
I mean it's in some ways like being a parent. You have to
Yeah,
find
no,
you have to
that's what I
find that
said to
like that
everybody.
perfect balance between making them do things that are better for them in the long run that they don't want to do, and then like you said, kind of meeting them in the middle. And you have to find that language to speak. You have to find that way to reach them and motivate them to do something that's beneficial for everyone. Because at the end of the day, I mean, if you're an org, you need something out of them. You need a return on your players, and it's not like there. And we've talked about this a shit ton in past episodes, but like there's this idea that a lot of players have that and creators that just their name being associated to the brand is payment enough.
No,
That's the
quote unquote
value that
payment.
they're
Yeah,
bringing. And it's like, no, we need more from you. Like, we need to actually use your name, and like the only people who can get away with that are someone like Clicks. Clicks will
that's
bring
what I was
more.
gonna say.
Clicks will always
That's
bring
what.
more value to an organization than an organization will bring to him. The only thing that they can provide is money. That's, they are paying him essentially to put their logo or their branding
Yeah,
on his name and as advertisement. He's essentially a massive billboard. That's,
1000%.
but like, you need, like, unless you're that super massive, do not come to me with that bullshit. Because like that, when you're growing your brand, or when you are a growing brand, when we get you on an org, that idea is we're going to utilize you. We're going to create this mental association with the
Right.
audience. You
Yeah.
are PL this, you are Vice this, you are Phase this, and like that's where that relationship comes from, and that needs to be enhanced with something. It can't just be your Twitter or whatever, and then you never interact with the branding of the org. So that's why, like, you need to be doing team content. You need to be, all of this stuff that we try and get you in, this promotional content and whatever. And we've talked about, like, yeah, if you benefit the org, it benefits you too, because you're on the
Right.
org. We can either pay you more, or we can, it's better branding for all of us, which means you get more impressions, which is more money. Like, it always is a good thing at the end of the day. But it's like, so like, learning how to corral them and motivate them properly and explain those things to them, to go, yeah, hey, you need to be in this team content. If this team video does well and the team channel does well, we can, you're getting more impressions, you're getting more followers, you're like, it's
Yeah.
benefiting all of us at the end of the day. But like, I've had to learn that too, in a management position, of like, the fine line between telling them what to do and ordering them around versus like, hey, I'm going to try and basically get you to think that this was your idea, or that this is good for you, so that you want to do it on your own as well. And like,
Exactly.
it's a hard balance to find.
With I would say my experience with Vice and strategies that I kind of came up with, like going back to what you were
mm,
asking, strategies wise, it was kind of like, again, adapting, but also
mm,
being able to just lay it down with them, like not being the guy. Like before, as a guy, like I'm known, even if you're going on the IRL aspect, people know me as, I could be mad about a lot of things that have happened in my life. I could be
mm,
frustrated with a lot of things that have happened in my life. And
yeah.
my three best friends always tell me, why don't you get mad about more things? Why don't you get
Mm,
frustrated at people about more things? And it's because I'm always, one life lesson I've learned actually quite recently is forgive, don't forget.
mm,
And that can kind of be taken here because, listen, in this scene, you're gonna see dudes that you thought were morally smart or morally just like intact, matured as well. They just say dumb shit. They say
yeah,
dumb shit on
for
Twitter.
sure.
It can get them canceled, matter of fact. It can ruin their careers, maybe even ruin their lives.
Yeah.
And it's just a click of one button and typing few words.
Yeah. Yep.
And in this scene specifically, it's happened so many times, like
Yeah.
countless amount of times.
Yeah.
And with my players, it's definitely happened a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I can point out a decent bunch. Definitely don't want to, but there was one where a dude said something very, very off-putting to one of the owners.
Mm,
I didn't want to get rid of the player because he's a very good player, and I knew his competitive status from his maturity status is two very different things.
yeah, sure.
So to make amends with it, I guess you could say, quote unquote amends, I laid it down with him that what he did was completely wrong. How can he fix it? And what he should do to make it up to this person, and what he needs to do to make it up in the future. It's kind of how an apology works. It's, you can't just say I'm sorry. That's
Mm,
very empty. I saw a TikTok on this, a very, like, one of those motivational TikTok page. I'm sorry is very bland. It's empty. It's,
mm,
you say it when you actually don't feel sorry, honestly, half the time.
mm,
An apology is more of, you state what you've done in the past, state
mm.
what it's like in the future, and state what you need to do
Yeah.
or present, and then state what you need to do in the future. That's what is a true apology.
Yeah.
So for that, it was kind of how I took that into consideration when I was lecturing, quote unquote, lecturing this guy about what he had done wrong and what he
Mm,
needs to fix.
mm,
That's kind of what it was. And one of those strategies was that past, present, future thing with apologies or figuring out how to better yourself.
yeah.
And now to this day, like, he has gone in some heat, but not as much as he had before.
Yeah.
And it's as much as it's still like, yeah, you could do better, it's also like it's always improvement.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
potential to improve. It's that thing, improving being a human nature. You always
yeah,
have to look towards it. You always have to focus on improving with whatever it is.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that was one of my strategies. If anything else would be management wise, like directly in just recording videos.
Mm.
It's laying down the law when it comes to recording videos. You
Yep.
can't be the dude that's, and you've learned this a lot.
Yeah.
You can't be the dude, and from what you've told me before is you liked how I set up scheduling videos and how everybody was so down with it that we'd all just schedule a day, and if that
Yeah.
didn't work, we'd schedule the next day. We wouldn't be like, oh wait, 3 4 days. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
it would be next day. And if you can't
Yeah.
make it, you can't make it. We'll manage with who we have.
Right. Right. Yeah. No,
So
I've had to learn instead of hey, are you available at this time? It's we are recording at this time. Be there. That's it. And if you get a legitimate like, oh, I can't because of this thing. Like when you lay down that time and when you like make it law of the land, that's when they'll tell you if they have a legitimate excuse. Otherwise, I know they're bullshitting with me, and I'm like, okay, like either it's your contract or you show up. Like it's none of this half-ass shit. Like and
yeah.
then um, but
So
yeah, no,
with
yeah,
yeah, like that's what it was, like recording videos. And now knowing that the way you feel about how I scheduled Vice videos, it went very successfully. Of course, the quote unquote like the numbers, views, and things were good. They
mm,
could have been better. Blah blah blah. Algorithm,
mm,
all this.
yeah,
It was the fact that we were having fun recording,
yeah,
but having everything scheduled,
yeah.
planned out,
Well,
what we were doing, how we were ending.
that was the biggest thing was for me that stood out was we all of those guys wanted to be there. They were having fun and they were enjoying doing it. And
I think what even included them more is that we had someone different do the intro every time.
mhm. Yeah, I
Like
mean,
that
but
was a big factor on it as
no, I
well.
mean it was that for me. It was they didn't view it as a chore because that's the struggle
Yeah.
I'm still going through now. Is most of my players view doing team content, doing whatever as a chore. A lot of people I've worked with to be able to bypass that with the group of guys that you had and they want to be there, they want to be recording videos because it's just fun. Um,
Yeah.
is a massive thing, and I mean, like you were a massive part of that. I mean, that's you created a culture of that, which is really
Yeah.
good, and you rewarded it. I mean, I think that was one of the things you rewarded it properly, and that's a really good thing.
It was also the fact that when orgs sometimes come up with ideas for videos,
Mm,
it's based off what they've seen on other org channels. It's
yeah,
based off all this algorithm stuff. When UEFN first came out, my first thing was go for every UEFN big idea right now.
yeah,
We
yeah,
ran the OG Battle Royale. We ran that horror map
yeah,
where you
yeah,
screamed so many times. We ran
yeah,
every different big UEFN map, not because every other team was doing it, but because we knew it'd blow up and we
yeah,
knew
yeah,
we'd have fun recording it.
yeah. No, I mean, and that's yeah, and honestly, I think a big contributor to that too is that you do your own content and are good at content and can be involved in the content. A lot of content directors or people who are doing that, who are organizing this and coming up with the ideas, are so disconnected from the actual people in those recording sessions, right?
Right.
Usually they just someone in management comes up with an idea and they send it out, and then it's just your top creators that are doing it, and there's just this disconnect.
There's
I
no
think
one to direct. There's not an actual
yeah,
person directing them what they need to do, what they need to say,
and
all
there's
this
not a
stuff.
relationship. They don't
Yeah,
really know those, like the person coming up with the idea doesn't really know the creators or the players, and it's like there's this disconnect there, and that was something that I
because
think because you've done your own content and
yeah,
because you do your own content and understand it and know how to make it entertaining and fun, and those recording sessions were just a vibe because
right.
everyone there knew content, loved doing content. You were passionate about it. You're the organizer, but you're also in the video and you're also having fun with it. And like, I think that, and I would say the same thing for myself. I think I'm beginning to get into this rhythm now, like with the PL stuff, where it's the same idea. I'm the one who's organizing these recording sessions. I'm the one but I'm also in every piece of content, and I'm there with them. I'm there in that recording process. I'm not just handing it off and then having them do it and I'm disconnected from it. Like
Yeah,
relationship is so important in
one
in
thousand
management.
percent.
I mean, it's
I
you know,
couldn't agree more with it. To be honest, it's my guys were like I had to have that relationship with them, or else they would never take me seriously.
mhm. and that
Right?
and that is it's like as a management in an org at all, the way that that works. I mean, business in general, but management in an org specifically, you have these young kids, and I think for me, I've taken on a lot of I don't want to really say a father figure role. I mean, for maybe some of the kids out there that view me that way, but like definitely like an older sibling, older brother type role. Like
I see
I
that.
think a lot of people view me that way, and
The older cousin or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that that dynamic I think is really important because they value what I have to say, and then they realize that I want to help them. That like when I get to that place in a relationship with a creator or a player where they fully believe that I'm out for their best interests, it makes that whole process easier because they know that everything that I'm
Yeah.
forcing them to do, even if it's not something they want to do in the moment, they know that it's for a goal. They know that it's for them. I'm doing it just as much for them as I am for the org. Like I don't believe in one-way streets in this industry. That
Yeah. There's
everything should
not.
have a two-way benefit, and that's good business. If you are doing things that are
That's what it
one-way
is.
streets, and there are orgs out there that are doing that, 2 a.m. Um, but you know, like that,
Kind of called.
there
Yeah.
are people who are very clearly running their business from that perspective of we are gonna sap the most that we can out of you, and we're gonna give you nothing in return, or a very very unfair payment in return, and that's a bad way to run a business.
Yeah.
It's immoral, it's unethical, but like it shows even in the results that your business produces. It's just not the way to do it. And like that was what I appreciated about you was all of those guys looked up to you. All of those guys viewed you as an authoritative figure. They valued your input. They valued your advice. I mean, when guys are coming to you outside of the context of org stuff or whatever, when they're coming to you about life advice or personal stuff or whatever, that to me is when you know you've been successful. Because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, they value what I have to say as a person. They believe that I am wise or, all of that stuff. And
As much as I'm their authoritative figure and I'm their like lead, whatever it is, what do you want to call me, owner, whatever, I'm also their friend.
yeah,
Like I've built that relationship to be their friend where I've had players come to me and be like,
yeah,
"Oh, my friend group, they feel like I feel like they've been kind of dismissing me or this," or even in real life situations, like if that's an online friend group, real life situations, I had a dude come up to me before, of course, I'm not going to state names, come up to me and
yeah,
ask me, I'm kind of like dealing with a relationship problem and
mm,
I might take a break from gaming for the time being. I'm going to be back. I just don't know when, or how
yeah,
can
yeah,
I like get over this quicker, or how can I,
yeah,
try to fix my problem with my quote unquote girlfriend or boyfriend? And it's kind of like, I'm there as their friend in those situations, but I know that balance of being
yeah.
their friend and being that authoritative figure
I
to
was
them,
just
where
about
it's
to
like
say that.
you gotta get in
Yep.
line, you gotta get back in, and you gotta tee up.
When you need to put your foot down, you need to put your foot down. And that
Yeah,
it's in both situations, right? I'm looking out for your best interests, but it requires a different role for me to do that in different
yeah,
situations, and that's
exactly.
that's where that comes from. So I mean, I
That's
kind
what
of
it
want to
was.
talk about, like I said, I was kind of talking about. I think a lot of the reason that the Vice content was so successful was you do content yourself. What is kind of like, why do you do content? What do you love about it? Where do you want to get with it? What drives you and motivates you to do everything you do? But really more recently it's been kind of you solo focusing on your content. So what's that like, you know?
Well, as like this is before I even like thought of gaming as a pathway,
Mm,
thought of content creation as a pathway as a whole. Before I even got into it, it was me in sixth grade with me and my cousin kind of fighting for who would get the most subscribers by the end of summer,
mm,
and us recording using our phone, recording us playing 2K on my big ass TV over there. And it was a straight
nice.
40-minute section of us just playing 2K, and like it was so, as a kid, it was so fun to play games. I just
Mm,
never found it a career. I just never found it that thing where it was over
mm,
sports, right?
yeah, yeah.
So from sixth grade to eighth grade, I played games with my cousins, my friend, mainly my cousins. I always
Mm,
had a Wii, all this, but eighth grade me was always, even summer eighth grade, I was playing Minecraft with my cousin from like 10 a.m. to like 3 p.m. and then I'd go
mm,
out play sports, blah blah blah. It was never the thing that I would stay at home all day play. It was
yeah,
always,
yeah,
I
yeah,
play because it's fun. I don't play because I want to make it something in the future.
yeah,
I just wanted something. I say future, but
yeah.
like when it came to why do I want to do content creation, it was probably because Quarantine hit,
Yep.
and me and two of my friends just saw Fortnite, and we were like, we all have consoles. Late night, let's just play.
Yeah.
Started playing with them, and I was like, oh, there's a clipping software on Xbox.
Yeah.
Anytime I hit a cool snipe with the heavy sniper, anytime I
Yeah.
hit cool shotgun clip, anytime I hit some type of like, just at the time it was such a bad clip, I'd always just hit Xbox button X, and it's the clip button.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I take those clips. It was on a USB connected on my Xbox. Take it into my laptop, and I was like, let me just put them together. Let me make a small little montage of my snipes. Just show everybody that I got it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd always put them together. I'd throw it on YouTube, saddest thumbnail with like Canva writing on it, with like Google Doc type of
Yeah. Yeah.
font,
Yeah.
and upload it to YouTube. And even though it wasn't doing good, it was satisfying posting it.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
satisfaction I got of just clicking publish and having something there
Mm.
where it was like, it was getting people watched it and
Mm.
stuff, not even checking analytics, just knowing that there's that view count goes from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 or 3 to 5,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just seeing that was like, okay, let's continue.
Yeah. Yeah.
From there, it was let's continue, let's push. But what made it very hard was not having this guy right here. If
Yeah.
I never got this thing, I promise you, I think I would have quit by now. I think
Yeah.
I would have quit.
Yeah.
This was my biggest motivational factor. November 2021, I convinced my dad, let's invest this. I'll put my money in, you put some of yours, and we'll put some of my sister's because she was down with it. We
Mm.
put it in, got this guy 1.2K, taxed it 1.4, warranty, whatever, 1.6, whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a driver for me. The second
Yeah.
I got this thing, first thing I did, logged into Twitch. Second
Mm.
thing I did, download OBS, set up everything. Third thing I
Yeah,
did,
yeah.
download Fortnite. That was
Yeah.
my only scene. And I played Fortnite on stream, whether that was with IRL friends, whether that was online friends, most IRL because that's who I was playing with at the time and I wasn't in
Yeah.
the comm.
Yeah.
Played with all those IRLs, made content, made tournament content on it. If you go back on my YouTube channel and you just scroll to near the bottom, you'll see OG Fortnite video, not OG Fortnite, like chapter 3 Fortnite videos of
Yeah.
me playing tournaments with my IRLs, just having a blast, having fun, playing, getting the very, very mid placement, but just having so much fun throughout the video and our hype getting a win or whatnot.
Mm.
And what wanted me to continue doing that is that I enjoyed the game, but I enjoyed posting that video more than I enjoyed playing the game.
Mm.
Not just the editing process, not just the thumbnail making process, not just the learning how to do all these types of things, gaining
Yeah.
these skills and abilities. It was literally satisfaction
Yeah.
of just
Yeah.
getting a video out, putting it, seeing it, next video, what can I do next?
Yeah,
Put it
yeah.
on. And of course, when I got that one, I get one blow up video that does like 2K views, and I'd be like, oh shit, this is, I mean, I should keep doing this. It was also like, I could keep doing this, but I know I'll enjoy doing other things in the future with content. So I had to adapt and make them work.
Yeah.
So nowadays, to me, it's like, I love playing Fort knowing that it's something that I can make content off of, and most people
Yeah.
know me for Fortnite. But what people don't know is I've played Minecraft competitively before. I played
Yeah.
in lobbies with your Fortnite pros that used to play Minecraft competitively. I've played in lobbies with them,
Mm.
and like I beat them and stuff, and quote unquote made money off the game and stuff.
Mm.
And when Fort kind of like Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 3, when that hit, and I was like, I just don't find enjoyment with the game. I don't know if I can
Yeah.
really make content off the game.
Yeah.
That was my dying factor for the game, my dying factor for still leading Vice Fortnite wise,
Yeah.
and one of my dying factors in general, like what do I want to make content off of? And then I
Yeah.
realized I played games before. I've played other games before.
Yeah.
Like I had Minecraft in the back. I had horror games that I
Yeah.
always played normally, like on my own time. So I started Minecraft. I started a world with friends. I started streaming Minecraft for 6, 7 hours a day. I started playing horror games, all this stuff. And I was like, what if I just make content on what I love doing? And in the future, when it does better is when I'll be able to adapt it and make it work with other things.
Right. Right.
So my motivating factor for that, or my drive for that, is if I enjoy what I'm doing and I know it's going to do well, and I always have that passion for it to do well, I'm going to make it do well. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to quit.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to be the dude that says, oh, this didn't do good. Maybe I got to think about quitting. Maybe I got to think about investing in my time in something else. right now I won't lie, it has been kind of hard seeing the numbers on YouTube kind of like plummeting, but it's
Mm.
also like I enjoy recording those videos. I like
Yeah.
making those videos.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it work,
Yeah.
but I just need the time to figure it out.
Yeah. Um.
So that was kind of my driver. That's my motivating factor right now is
Mm.
even my IRL friends say like some of them. I went over to my best friend's house the other day. He's like, bro, at home, I just like go through your YouTube videos. I just
Mm.
watch them. And I saw
Yeah.
all of them had the little red line across the video, and
Yeah.
I'd be
That's
like, damn,
massive.
like he enjoys it. Like
Yeah.
someone's enjoying it. There's
Yeah.
probably someone else in the world who's enjoying it. There's probably some people that dislike it. Now I gotta adapt, make it better. I gotta put both together, make that a great video where they both enjoy it. Blah blah blah,
Right.
and
Right.
adds
Right.
on.
So what would be like your ideal? Like, let's say 5 years from now, what's the dream that you're living at that point?
Like I'm going to university.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's gonna be a little hard, and I think I'll be able to manage in comparison to a lot of people. But of
Yeah.
course, it'll be a little hard. What I'm going to university for is film. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's called Cinema and Media Arts, and it's a Bachelor of Fine Arts,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the degree I get. So with the Bachelor of Fine Arts, you can go down the route of becoming a director, becoming a producer,
Yeah.
becoming something, a video producer, something, an editor,
Yeah.
whatever it is. You can go in that field.
Yeah.
My goal with university is not to go into that. And I've actually told people the last thing I kind of want to be is a director. Not
Mm.
because it's not cool, but it's because I just don't want that being near to my end goal. My end
Mm.
goal would be that I take everything I learned in the 4 years of university of film and getting my degree,
Mm.
not to use my degree in a business standpoint or in a real life job, but or like a real world job, but
Yeah.
to use it online to increase my content, increase
Mm.
my experience, increase my motivation, increase everything that I'm doing now and bring it to a whole different level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like whatever that is from like let's say experiences, connections,
Yeah.
equipment I get to use, whatever it is,
Yeah.
from that is what I'd bring to this.
Mm.
I'd bring it to this. I would try to make it bigger than anything else. And I'd prove to people that, yes, a university degree is heavily, it can be very useful, but it can be very unuseful at the same time.
Mm.
You can make it work with
Mm.
what you love doing. You can
Mm.
mix it together. It's just how you do it is what matters. You need to put in the work for it. You need to put in the time for it. If
Mm.
you don't, you're not going to get your results. You're not
Yeah.
going to just something one day God strikes down and just gives you everything you need in life. No, that's
Mm.
not how it works.
Mm.
You One thing I saw within us too is that as much as you're a very philosophical person, you're also a very realistic person.
Yeah.
With me,
For sure.
I'm not philosophical in that matter like you, but I'm very realistic.
Yeah.
Like I think about things the way I say with my friends is you got to think about things the way you don't want to think about things.
Yeah. For sure.
That's literally our motto and our get go is you need
You
to follow with that.
you hope for the best case scenario, but you plan for the worst, and that's just, I mean,
That's just what it is.
that's life.
It is,
Right?
and when something bad happens, it is what it is. You're
Yeah.
not gonna be able to go back and fix it. That's not. You know how many things that even real life experiences, gaming experience. If I could go back in time and fix it, I'd 100%
Yeah.
do it.
Right.
But even if it changes the world, alters the world, I would do it because of course I messed up, or of course I could have done something even a little better. But
Mm.
now I'm like, that's not realistic. If it happens, it happens. You move on. You better yourself from there. You don't regret the past.
Yeah.
And even this can go with real people. Like you can forgive but not forget.
Yeah. Yeah.
You shouldn't, you know, of course you don't want to worry about the worst case scenario, but you shouldn't have the highest of hopes for the best case because anything can go.
Yeah.
Anything can happen, even in relationships, friendships,
Yep.
gaming, your career. Anything can happen. You gotta
You
be
just have to
ready
make
for
do
all
with
of
what
it.
you're
You
dealt. I mean, that's
you're given cards in life, and you deal
yeah.
with what you've been given.
Yeah. No, for
It's
sure.
like poker. You can't find your way around getting new cards. You
Yeah.
deal with the round. You deal with the cards
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
given in the round, and you have to make it work.
Yeah. So I mean, you've kind of already answered. What do you have coming up? What are your plans for the future?
I'd
Um,
still say there's one or two things I haven't said for that. I mean, you know them. You definitely know it, like with
yeah.
other things outside. But again, like university,
Yeah.
plans for the future, just kind of finding the balance within content, and also I can't actually say what it is because that project's very soon. That anybody on my that follows my social media or even in the GhostComms podcast, you'll probably see it like just on a retweet or on the
Mm.
page at some point. Is
Yeah.
I have a very big project coming up soon that includes a studio.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not gonna say a lot more about it, but that's coming up soon. Jatmon knows what it is, but
Yep.
uh, that's coming very soon.
Yeah.
It was held off. It was supposed to be July, but now it's August. It's cool.
Mm.
It happens. But yeah, so that's coming. I definitely want to make more projects in the future where
Mm.
people will know me for it and also will take up time for me because I don't like having an empty plate. That's
Mm.
just not who I am. I always need something there
Mm.
and then more things to build on it.
Mm.
That's just how I work.
So then, I mean, obviously, you of all people would know, but the last traditional question that we always ask,
Of course.
if you were to give the audience one piece of advice, what would it be?
Honestly, this goes for all the online kids that have no maturity skills whatsoever. This goes for the kids in real life that are still aging in this generation that
Mm.
have not gained maturity. This goes for everybody. Dude, just be true to yourself.
Mm.
Don't go and impress people, whether that's, and this goes every type of experience from gaming to IRL. Don't go buying fashionable clothes that cost money just to impress your friends. Don't go
Mm.
buying stuff on your equipment just so you can tweet it and be like, oh, I got this.
Mm.
It was expensive, blah, blah, blah. Don't go buying stuff you don't need for your setup at the current moment just
Mm.
so you can say, I have all this, I've paid for all this.
Mm.
Realistically, at the end of the day, your parents probably paid it off if you're that young.
Yeah.
Just be true to yourself. Deal with the cards you've been given. Don't force anything. It will all come naturally if you make it work.
Mm.
Don't just don't ruin it for yourself. Don't ruin your experiences just because you want to impress people. Just if you stay true to yourself and if you stay motivated at something and you genuinely love something, it will work out if you make it work. Not because an investment is very different from wanting to be cool. It's a very different thing. An investment is buying a vlog camera because you want to go somewhere and vlog. Like you
Yeah.
want to make content of vlogging.
Yeah.
Buying a vlog camera just so you can say I have a vlog camera, or being like, oh, I'm considered
Yeah.
a vlogger now, just so
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
record things and not do anything with it. That's forcing yourself. That's wanting to be cool. That's wanting to say you have something that others don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Do it
Make
for
your
you,
time
not for
limit.
other people. I
Yeah,
mean,
don't
yeah.
do it for yourself. Don't do it for others. Make an investment that will actually benefit you and make others see you as, yo, that's that dude that does this by
Mm.
vlogging. That's that dude that,
Mm.
oh, he's that dude from TikTok, like something like that.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say that's probably my piece of advice. Just be true to yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for yet another installment and a special episode of the GhostComms podcast. Getting a little deep dive into one of your hosts, in Vishal. Obviously, as always, we'll have all of our stuff linked below, both of our socials. Go follow Vishal, all of his new projects, all of his new personal content that he's making on his Twitch and YouTube and TikTok. We'll see y'all in the next one.
Bye,
Peace.
everybody.